Hey y'all, I'm Andrew Brown. I'm education lead here at Beamer Salon, and today I'm going to walk you through how to do an extended blowout. I have already shampooed and conditioned and combed out our mannequin right here. Basically, I'm going to show you like what products that I tend to gravitate towards whenever I'm gonna do one of these. She does have a tiny bit of wave in her hair, so I'm not gonna have to use like too heavy products or anything like that. But yeah, I'm just gonna walk you through. So over here, I'm gonna start with using our El Croyade by Kerastase. So this is a blowout lotion that's gonna have heat memory up to 96 hours. So it's perfect for if we're gonna go ahead and do this blowout, it'll last a little bit longer. Or, you know, if she feels like her curls are great night one and then night two she wants to straighten it, she can totally do that too. As you saw, kind of put 3 or 4 pumps in my hands, put it on both sides like a lotion. That way when I'm running through the hair, as I pick her head up, it kind of distributes evenly all the way through. Secondly, I'm going to use our Guts by Redken. So this also is really great if you have like somebody going through like an updo, or if they have prom or anything like that. It just kind of holds the style just a little bit more, and it also has heat reactivating technology. So you know, the El Croyade lotion plus this is going to be really good if they want to style it a separate way a day or two down the road. So I'm just going to pick up first, spray a little bit at her root, just for some body. Really just focusing on the parietal ridge up, only because there's kind of no point in adding volume in the nape of the head, because you're not really going to see anybody there. You can also use this on wet or dry hair, so that's also a really nice thing in prom season. If you are like having to do like 4 updos in a row and you don't have time to shampoo, this is perfect. So I'm just going to run a little bit through the hair, comb that through, just distribute it a little bit better, only because this is going to hold my style just a little bit more. Now I think this bottle here is kind of running low, and that's why I'm able to spray it. Usually I think you should be able to just spray some in your hand and kind of run your hands through the hair. I'm just trying to make sure I can get a little bit of product in there. So for this mannequin, I'm actually going to be doing a balayage on it later, and I want a center part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rough dry her just a little bit, just to get some of the water out, because you don't really want to start soaking wet when you're doing this extended blowout. And I'll kind of walk you through that, but I'm gonna just, you know, pre-dry her just a little bit, and I'm gonna show you how I like the section. So when I'm rough drying, also, I'm really wanting to vent the hair. So I just want to move it around so that the airstream goes through each of the hairs versus just pushing on the outside of the hair. That way your drying time's going to go a lot faster, and you're just being more efficient for the client's time too. So as you can see, the hair is a little bit dry, a little bit wet, right? This is really a good place to start so that you make sure that your root direction is going where you want it to go, and that way you haven't already dried the hair a little bit straighter to have to go back and like work harder to curl it. So here I am actually, let's see how I can do this here. So for her, because it's a mannequin, I kind of want to dry her fringe first. So I'm going to make sure that I section out her front kind of like a halo here. So I'm actually going to pull a little bit from the top. They don't have to be perfect sections. They just have to be clean enough where you can get in there and round brush. So that kind of looks like this here. Just a little bit of the fringe area out so that I can pull that down, because that's how I want my balayage to be set up, okay? Totally depends on how your client wears her hair naturally. I'm just gonna take a second one down here. Basically what I'm trying to do personally when I dry is I really like to leave the perimeter out and go ahead and dry that first, because that's kind of like my base and my setup for how I want the hair to dry. There we go. So you see here, I just put another clip, put it in my previous section, because that's just the easiest thing to get out of your way, right? And then I'm honestly probably gonna do one more. There we go. So as you can see, I have a good perimeter around the head. All the sections clipped up into the previous section. There we go. So here I'm going to be using my medium round brush. So obviously the smaller the brush, the more curl and wave that you're going to end up getting. The bigger the brush, you know, the looser everything's going to end up being. So for her, I'm going to want to start in the front here, only because she's got stubborn fringe. So when you're going to do this, key points to remember are making sure that you're blow drying on the top of this, not on it, on the top. Only because if you're going in here, some of the airflow is going back towards the scalp and it's gonna fluff the cuticle, and you're gonna wanna keep it smoother the whole time. So just making sure you keep the air blow drying off the top. And you're also gonna want to go ahead and start drying like the ends a little bit first when you're in your section. So I want to start blow drying the ends a little bit more first, because the root needs to be what dries last, so that I make sure I get the most amount of body out of there. And you can see I'm already making sure that my cuticle is super closed. You just never want to fluff that too much. You're going to want this to be like 90% dry before you start actually trying to form the curl. So this is about 70% dry, so let me just finish. Alright, so now we're about 90% dry here. So now I'm actually going to start pushing this all the way down and warming up that hair and letting it cool for a second, and I'll just go back and forth with that. Making sure to get that root nice and dry, because once you get done twirling this out, you do not want to have to go back and do it again. So another hot tip is that I really like to blow dry on medium heat. High heat usually makes you feel like you have kind gotten the hair dry and then you go back and it's still a little bit damp. So medium heat is just a little bit more of a true tone, with the exception of if somebody has like very curly hair, you need a little bit more heat to just pull that curl pattern out. So once you have this done, let it cool for just a second, and then you're gonna wanna twirl it away from the face, okay? So once you're here, you can pull that out just a little bit, twirl it, and make sure when you do release some that you relieve some of the pressure off of it so that you can keep a little bit more curl. The tighter that you pull that, the looser it's gonna end up being in your end result. So you just have to know kind of how you want it styled when you get done. And then there is a nice, pretty curl. Making sure not to pull too hard. And there we have a nice curl, and you can see that her fringe is going to be set up perfectly for me to go in and do a balayage. So I'm going to repeat the same process on this other side. Focusing on the ends first. Another thing is going in here, you see I've got the tail off of the hair that is or off the brush, that is totally okay. I'm focused on more getting my shape at the root and not so much in the mids to begin with, okay? That way I have basically put the most amount of heat for the entire time that I've been blow drying this section up here towards the root. That way I get a little bit more body in my end result, versus if I put most of my heating time down here. What I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna have as much body towards the root and a little bit more wave curl on the ends. Twist, don't put a ton of tension when you pull out. Relieve some of that pressure, let it cool. Twist, down. And there you can see I'm set up for a bali. So it is your choice as you go around the rest of the hair if you want to alternate going towards the face and around the face. Obviously, if all of them are going away from the face, it's just kind of going to clump into huge curls, versus if you alternate going back and forth, whether you're going back, forth, or whether all of these go back, the next section, all of these go forward, however you want to do it. It just breaks it up just a little bit, so I'm going to do that for you. And it kind of in front of the ear, on top of the ear, it kind of looks better to go away from the face, but it also depends on the style that you want. If they want the curls going towards the face, then blow it towards the face. If not, it typically looks a little bit prettier to go away. So, as you can see from here, I've already done my perimeter, so I don't have that much hair left to do. I have these going away from the face, giving it just a little bit of body. I'm gonna comb this out when I get done so that I can make sure that these cool in this motion here. Got this one going away. In my back, I've already made it happen where I've got one going towards the face and one going towards the face. That way it just breaks the picture up. And then here, both of those are going back. And you can see I do have a little bit of lift up here. It's not just flat to the head, right? So, no matter what you're gonna do, once you're here, so let's say I'm gonna let this section down, you're gonna want it not to lay, like if this is going towards the face, you don't want this section right above it to go towards the face as well. You want it to be the opposite motion. That way it has opposite motions going on. So in here, this section's kind of small enough. I don't know. I'll probably split this into 3. Also, a smaller section is your best friend. The bigger section it is, the harder it is to dry. But at the same time, you know, a bigger section is going to be a lot looser. A smaller section is going to be a lot more true to the brush that you're using and how you're twirling out the brush. So here, I can probably pull this towards the face. Now this one here is going to sit directly on top of one that's towards the face, so I'm going to actually pull this one behind. So now you can see I have some going this way, some going the other way, some all going back and towards the face. Nothing all the same. That way you don't get that typical cheerleader ponytail where they just all go together. Now here is one of my favorite parts of the blowout, only because once I let this section down, I have the perfect opportunity right here to have some opposing motion. So this one's going away from the face. The first thing I'm going to do on this front section is go towards the face. Keeping in mind also when I'm even sectioning my wet hair that I'm not at the face, making sure I keep my perimeter out that way. This is going to be behind that perimeter piece. making sure that you're drying your hair in the motion that you want it to go. So that's where I'm pulling this out and twirling this back in and blow drying it just a little bit, because I do want it to be closer to 90% dry before I actually start twirling the hair. And making sure I'm on top of my brush, not directly on my brush, the top. Basically, if you're having a hard time kind of differentiating the two, think about whatever's going towards the tail end of the hair versus the root end of the hair. That's where you want the blow dryer pointing. And just for time purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and just keep alternating back and forth. And the whole purpose of this extended blowout is that you're taking the time to polish and finish this look however they're going to wear it that day without having to use a hot tool. So it is probably going to take a few more minutes unless you're working with somebody, but you definitely want to make sure to just keep the blow dryer pointing towards the tail end of the hair. The whole point is to have a sleek, you know, beautiful blowout. Nothing frothy or frizzy. Another key point that I like to do when blow drying or curling is that here is the back side of my head, right? This is my front fringe. Hi. So I never really like to split these going opposite ways or opposite ways going back towards the head, because it causes a split right here in the crown. So, you know, when you have a middle part, it's kind of just pick whatever you want, but I kind of like, if it's on one side or the other, to pull the hair going towards whatever hair has less hair. So if I have somebody part on the left side, I would pull it towards the left side so that they feel like they have a little bit more hair here in the end picture, but I just never want to have opposite motion there. On this mannequin, it's kind of hard just because she'll pop off, but you do kind of want to tug a little bit away from the scalp so that you get that motion to lay down. So can you just hold this here? Making sure you blow dry away from the scalp, but you're still wanting to blow dry towards the tail end of the hair. hair 90% dry. Blow dry against the root just a little bit, just to heat it up. Making sure you relax as you pull through. And always go towards the tail end of the hair. Here you can see we've got a little bit of body, just a bit here and here, which is good, and in the back, because you're going to want a little bit more body above the parietal ridge, which is why we put that mousse only above that point. And you can see in here we have motion going towards the face, motion going away from the face. So usually you can finish your client with a little bit of texture spray or like an oil or anything like that. I'm not going to, just because I want a little bit less product so I can balayage. But then you just kind of run your hands through. So here, you see we just have a seamless, nice blowout that has a little bit of body. You didn't even have to put a curling iron or wand or flat iron to it. And that's that.